Genesis 41 will be verse 55. Genesis 41:55. Genesis 41:55. The title is Famished or Fortified, one of two. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, I don't know if you know that word. That's an Old Testament word, famished. I don't know that people use it nowadays. My dad used to use it. Coming in from work, he would say, "I'm famished." That meant get supper ready. Now, it has a bigger meaning than just food. It also means destitute or bankrupt of hope. These people here, they've run out of not only food, but everything. They have no more way of getting it. They're beyond hope. It's called famished. When all of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And they didn't ask for much, just bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, Go unto Joseph. What he saith to you, do. Pretty good. Now, Joseph, of course, is here a type of Christ. And I'm not going to go so far as to say Pharaoh's a type of God the Father. I just can't bring myself to say that. Now, of course, it's not the same Pharaoh as was the Pharaoh over Moses at that time. But neither was it the same Pharaoh that Ezekiel was claiming was the devil. Okay, so if the title is Pharaoh, I don't say that's the type of God. However, I could say this. I could say in our story, Pharaoh is a type of a Christian, a type of a minister, because he's telling someone in need who to go to find the fix. That's what a Christian should do. Say, you've got a need. I can't fix your need, but I can tell you where to go get it. Go to Jesus, and what he tells you, get on the ball. This will be our message. Look at it in John 2. John 2. Here's Jesus beginning his ministry. His mom has taken him to a wedding. John 2, verse 4. That's a woman thing. Women love the weddings and, the pomp and the ceremony. It's too much for a guy. Here he goes. John 2, verse 45. Jesus saith unto her, Woman, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come. Mary saying, Look, they're out of wine, and you need to do something about it. And he's going to. And his mom knows he's going to. Verse 5. His mother saith unto the servants, the same thing we saw Pharaoh say. Whatsoever he saith unto you, do it. That's good advice. That's what a Christian's job is. To go around and tell people, hey, you've got problems. I know that. Everybody does. I don't have the answer, but Jesus does. Go right to him, and whatever it is he tells you, do it. I'm not telling you that. The one who can fix your problems will tell you what to do. We'll look at this famished thing. You're either one of two. You're famished or you're fortified. Those people that were looking for bread from Pharaoh, they finally got it. They went to the right source, and it was provided for them. They were fortified. However, prior to that, they were famished. That's why they had a need. Look at it in Numbers 13. I call this faith famished. Numbers 13:32. Faith is a muscle. You got to learn to use it. And if you don't use it for a while, what happens is you lose it. You forget how to live on faith. That's the problem with a lot of Christians is this. They start out young and life is tough and they learn to live by faith. Then they get older and they get everything they need and they've got all their wants taken care of and they forget what faith is. When you don't have to worry about how much gas you're going to put in the car to get to the next block. You forget what faith is. Don't forget faith. Faith can get famished. Numbers 13:32. And they brought up, this is the spies, they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel. Now, where was the evil report? The evil report was of what? The land. Not of God. Not of what God said. but the benefit God said they could have, the land. Remember, that's the reason they left Egypt. This was the whole point of it, to go to the land. And now they're saying, oh, it's not so exciting, guys. An evil report. Evil is to detract from anything God's already promised. And we'll go and get the rest of the descriptions of it. The land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof, and all the people that we saw in it are men of great stature. Woe is us. We can't do it. God was going to do it, not them. He says right there that that was an evil report. Let's see what else he says about it. Verse 36, Numbers 14:36. And the men which Moses went to search the land, who returned, and made all the congregation to murmur against him. So now that was against the land and against Moses. Okay, you know that critical, complaining spirit is never content at the object of its anger. It's got to keep growing. So it was angry at what God said they were going to get. It was angry at the one who said they could go get it. He says, by bringing up a slander upon the land. They slandered the land. We don't think of land being a slander object. Slander is usually when you speak evil of a person. Look at it, verse 37. Even those men that did bring up, there it is again, the evil report upon the land, died by the plague before the Lord. It's dangerous. Don't badmouth something God said you can have, even though it seemed impractical for them. We would have felt the same way. Had we gone in to spy it, and lo and behold, we saw men that were, 4 times as tall as we have ever seen in our life, we might have the same feeling. If God said it's yours, don't worry about the rest of it. Deuteronomy 1, verse 28. Deuteronomy 1, verse 28. Now, here's the problem. This is a delicate thing. You want people to be accurate. You want them to be doctrinally sound. However, be careful that you don't discourage them. That's what's going on here. Whither shall we go up? Our brethren have discouraged our heart, saying the people is greater and taller than we. The cities are greater and walled up to heaven, and moreover, we've seen the sons of the Anakim there. So he says, one of the problems was this: they discouraged them, and discouragement will take this crowd that was looking to them for advice and encouragement. We're getting only discouragement. Well, they gave up on it. So if we're the spies, if we're in the position that we know more than the crowd we're talking to, be careful that we're not overly critical. That's a hard lesson to learn. Faith can be famished, and it should be fortified. There's only one thing that's going to fortify it. What we saw from the beginning. Go to Jesus. What he tells you, do it. And don't let me tell you something otherwise. I like that Pharaoh didn't get in the way. He said, he'll tell you what to do, and you go do that. I'm sitting up here on the throne. I ain't got time for all that. That's true. Faith can be famished, but that's not it. It'd be too simple if we ended there. Foundations can be famished. There's some core principles of Christianity that you have to get. Psalm 11, verse 3. Psalm 11, verse 3. It says, if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Nothing. Because the righteous are not the foundation. Our foundation is not on good people. Our foundation is not on the nation viewing God as a good God. That's not our foundation. Our foundation is just where Pharaoh said, Go find out what he says. That's your foundation. So the foundation is the Word of God. You go there. If you don't have the Word of God, you got nowhere to go. There's no substitute for it. He says in Isaiah 5, Isaiah 5, verse 13. The very foundation of Christianity is the thing that the world has imitated, and they all bow down and worship as a god. It's education. But you know, as a Christian, that's our foundation. Education from God's point of view. Psalms 5, verse 13. Therefore, my people are gone into captivity because they have no knowledge. Uh-oh. And their honorable men are famished. And their multitude dried up with thirst. Therefore, famished is not a it's not a benign problem. Verse 14, therefore hell hath enlarged herself, and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory and their multitude and their pomp, and he that rejoiceth shall descend into it. And the mean man, that doesn't mean an angry man. It means a normal man, mean, average. You see the comparison? The mighty men, the pomp, the honorable men, versus now the mean man, meaning the average. So the great men or the lowly man, verse 15, the mean man shall be brought down, and the mighty man shall be humbled, and the eyes of the lofty shall be humbled. But the Lord of hosts shall be exalted in judgment, and God that is holy shall be sanctified in righteousness. Okay, the basic element is this: we honor God. But it's not enough to just say, I want to honor God. You know what Romans chapter 1 is all about? When they knew God, they worshiped him not as God, became vain, used their own imagination to decide how they wanted to worship him, and they looked at the other heathen and said, how did they do it? And God says, no, better not do that. I'll turn you over to a reprobate mind for that. He says in this passage, hell enlarges herself for that. There's some basics. God wants to be worshiped, that's true, but he didn't want you to decide how to do it. So you need some knowledge. Foundations can be famished. Malachi 2. Malachi 2, verse 7. Malachi 2, 7. For the priest's lips should keep knowledge. That is, you should always be learning. You've never mastered it all. There's always something new to learn, or there's something old that needs to be fixed, relearned. He said, keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth, for he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. But ye are departed out of the way, ye have caused many to stumble at the law. Ye have corrupted the covenant of Levi, saith the Lord of hosts. So the foundation point is this: you're supposed to get some knowledge. You're supposed to be wise. Now, not according to the world. The world will tell you some things that contradict what God said. So that ain't so wise. That's learning to be stupid. Dr. Ruckman used to say that you got to go to college to be that stupid. They'll teach you some things that God wouldn't teach you. That's not getting knowledge. That's getting stupider. So faith can be famished. Foundations can be famished. And finally, we'll see fortunes can be famished. Most people think that their job is to accumulate a bunch of junk. It can be famished in a flash. Proverbs 10, verse 2. Proverbs 10, verse 2. He said, treasures. That's all the good things. That's things that other people value. Treasures of wickedness profit nothing. So you've piled up a bunch of vanity, really, is what you've done. Treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivereth from something very different than somebody looking for profit. Death. One is drastic, an absolute necessity, life or death. The other one is just vanity, profit. Verse 3, the Lord will not suffer the soul of the righteous to, there's our word, famish, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked. So, treasures gotten the wrong way gives God a mission. He's got to famish it. He says in our verse, he's going to cast it away. That is, God gets involved in tearing down the treasures of the wicked. No wonder they're famished. He's the one tearing it apart. They should be. We got in Zephaniah 2, verse 11. Zephaniah 2:11. This is not a passage that most people have memorized. Zephaniah 2:11. The Lord will be a terror, terrible unto them. We've gotten a little glimpse of it throughout history with what a terrorist is, but those are kindergarten kids compared to God. The Lord will be terrible unto them, for he will famish all the gods of the earth, and men shall worship him, every one from his place, even all the isles of the heathen. That is, one day God's going to force them all to worship him, and you know how he does it? He does it through terror. That is, he told us in Proverbs, the man who's piled up treasures by wickedness, it's God's job to come in and disassemble it, to tear it down. Here he's telling us how he's going to do it. He's going to do it through terror. And he's going to do it in such an open way that all of the people on the earth will worship him. Now that will be Armageddon. Not till then, but soon it'll happen, and I think we're getting out way sooner than that. In conclusion, I say facts will fortify. If you know the truth, according to God, that's what will make you strong. Job 34. Job 34, verse 23. As sure as facts fortify, it is a fact that everybody feels the drought of the world. When the world is in a recession, guess what? We are too. Our pocketbook is. However, we've got a fact that's bigger than their money market. Job 34, verse 23. Speaking of God, for he will not lay upon man more than right. If you're going through it, according to God, it's right. You know what happens if you tell God this is not right? Or tell anybody else your circumstance is just not fair? You said God's a liar. Or the penman of Job is, because he says right here, God will not lay on man more than right. Otherwise, the rest of the verse, that he should enter into judgment with God. If God were to allow something to happen to you that was unfair, you could judge God. Therefore, God's duty bound to make sure life is fair for you. Not everybody. It was only Job he picked out of all the people on the earth that he could say this about. So for a Christian, that's the same fact. For you, God will be sure nothing gets laid on you more than is right. Hebrews 13, verse 5. Hebrews 13:5. I saved all the heavy preaching right till the end here. He says, let your conversation be without covetousness. Ouch. That is, I wish, if only. Anytime you're tempted to use those phrases, get rid of it. That's covetousness wanting to come out. And be content with such things as you have. For he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. That's the such thing you have. It's him. If you've got that, there's no need for covetousness. You know what? He owns everything. Therefore, there's nothing you could say, I wish I had, because I've got the one who owns it all. Okay. And he said in Job, you're only going to get what's good and right. Verse 6. Now he says, don't be covetous, be content. And here's why. Verse 6. So that, that is in light of the previous verse, so that we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper. Now, you couldn't say the Lord is my helper if you were covetous. If you were wishing for this or wishing for that and not content in the state you find yourself, then you're not able to come in boldly. But if you'll be content, you can come in boldly and say this, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear what man shall do unto me. You know what happens? You know why you couldn't say that if you were covetous? Because it wouldn't be the Lord helping you. It'd be you helping yourself. And when you're in control of it, he'll step back and let you try. Romans chapter 8. Romans 8, verse 37. Romans 8:37. He says, nay, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. That's a fact, Jack. It doesn't often feel like it. Not on the front end. It does on the back end. We can look backwards and say, oh, yeah, that was no big deal. Of course, it felt like a huge deal at the time you're going through whatever. But the fact is, you're more than a conqueror because you're in the one who conquered it all. You already are. He says, nay, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. Good verse to memorize. That's a fact. That's a fact that'll keep you fortified. 1 John 2. 1 John 2, verse 13. 1 John 2, verse 13. Now, Paul didn't know anything about any Catholics, so he's not writing this to Catholics. He says, I write unto you fathers. That doesn't mean Catholics. Because you have known him that is from the beginning. Yeah. Isn't that what Pharaoh said? Go find Joseph, and whatever he tells you, that's what you do. Now the father, he said, this is what I'm writing to you because you already know him. He says, known him from the beginning. I write unto you young men because you have overcome the wicked one. How? We saw it in Romans. You're more than conqueror in him. See the common denominator in all this? We'll get the next little clue here. I write unto you little children. So we've gone through the whole family. Because ye have known the Father. Kind of like the same thing he said to the fathers. The common denominator to all of those three categories is one thing. Jesus Christ. Just like Pharaoh said, go find him. And what Joseph tells you, get on the ball. He's got it. 2 Peter 1, and we'll be done. 2 Peter 1, verse 4. 2 Peter 1, verse 4. In this life, you're going to be one of two things. You're going to be famished or you're going to be fortified. As a Christian, there's no excuse for us being famished. God's given us the supply we need. You know, it was only Joseph who had the knowledge and the wisdom to save up before the bad thing hit, the 7 years. And for us, we know Jesus Christ has already got everything we need ahead of time. Now, that doesn't mean he dumps it out early. I think of this. God never does anything early. That would be a waste. That'd be before it's needed. He never does anything late. That would be worthless. He always does it right on time. And for us, right on time is usually when we've just stepped off the cliff. 2 Peter 1, verse 4. As you step and there's no air beneath you, you need this. Whereby are given unto us exceeding great and precious promises, that by these you may be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. All the world can offer is to a man to be famished. However, in Jesus Christ, just like Pharaoh said, you can find fortification.